All right, what is going on, guys? Got another breakdown for UFC Vegas 71. This one's on the main card at featherweight. We got Ricardo Ramos taking on Austin Lingo. Not much discrepancy in the way of physicals. They're about the same height, and Ramos has a negligible 2-inch advantage in reach. They're also about the same age. Ramos, 27, soon to be 28. Lingo, 28, soon to be 29. Ramos a big favorite in this one. So I guess I'll start with Austin Lingo. He's won two in a row, including a solid win over Luis Saldana. Saldana's leg was hurt at the end of the first round, and it became really noticeable in the second round. Couldn't put a lot of weight on it, and I think it was due to Lingo's calf kicks. He might have messed it up, throwing something as well. Saldana might have, but I think we can chalk it up to damage. And Saldana ended up slowing down a fair amount in that one, but it was still really close. It seems to be a theme with Austin Lingo. He's really good and really dangerous in the first round when he's pressuring. And then he does tend to slow down as the fight goes on. And it's not like his output just disappears completely. He still digs deep and he's throwing in the second and third round, but he does look a little noticeably more tired towards the end of his fights. And it's a close second round, though I'd give it to Lingo because he's pressuring, landing more, headhunting a little bit. Also, just loading up way too much in that one, Lingo was. If he listened to his corner a little bit more and just didn't put so much sting on the shots and focused on touching them, I think he would have had more success there. Not knocking him, just saying like his corner was calling for certain things that seemed accurate in that fight. And then he ends up touching him, and Saldana just falls down in the third round. He was doing a poker face the whole time. He was really hurting, and Lingo ends up finishing the third round on top, wins the third round. I think it was rounds 2 and 3 for Lingo in that one after Saldana fought a good first round. And Jacob Kilborn, probably the best performance of Austin Lingo's career. Kilborn, not that high level. He lost both of his UFC fights. I think he's lost 3 fights since getting cut from the promotion. 5-fight losing streak for Kilburn. But, he definitely has a chin because Lingo was putting it on him, looked really good, economical, in and out, and just landing these heavy boxing combinations while pushing him up against the fence, pressuring very well. Last sting on his jabs, and was finding this left hook a lot, really doing a lot of damage to Kilburn. He was just shooting these desperation shots that Lingo was stuffing. But then, this matchup is a very important one to watch for the current matchup with Ramos for sure against Yusuf Zalal. Similar styles. Zalal is like a rangy guy who has good movement and good grappling too, and that's pretty much how he won that fight. Zalal was just staying out of the way of all of his shots, did not allow Lingo to back him up, which is where Lingo does his best work, and then he was finding the takedowns, took him down 4 or 5 times, was able to control him. Threatened to Darce at one point. I think he could have had it, but he didn't really set it up all that well, and Lingo was able to fight out of it and stand up. But the way Lingo was getting up there, I think if he did that against Ramos, he might be in trouble. Ramos has a little bit more of a sub threat, and that is kind of a thing. I look at Ramos as just like a better version of Yusuf Zalal, and I think Yusuf Zalal is pretty good. He did get cut, which surprised me a little bit, but he won 4 fights in 2020, and then I think he lost 3 in a row and had that draw with Damon Blackshear, so they sent him packing, but still a respectable opponent, and that is the one loss for Austin Lingo. And for Ricardo Ramos, I was counting, I think this is like his 12th fight in the UFC, which is crazy. He's only 28, and he has that many fights, so yeah, a lot of experience, and he has been kind of a guy who loses when he fights up in competition. His losses, Saeed Nurmagomedov, Lerone Murphy, and Zabira Tuhugov. Murphy and Nurmagomedov, both of those losses are very respectable, and Tuhugov is a solid fighter too. I think they sent him packing too because first of all, I think he got robbed in his last fight, but at the same time, he wasn't really doing much, and he basically lost for being like a huge favorite in that one, like 8-1. He didn't look like an 8-1 favorite, just not a lot of volume. But again, he does have good counter striking. And Ramos, very similar style, I guess, like Michel Pereira, has that capoeira base, and so you're going to get a lot of movement. He throws a lot of kicks, and he loves going to the spinning shit a little bit too much. He has landed it. He did land it against Danny Chavez in his last fight, and it was a really nice highlight reel knockout. Lingo did get hit with the spinning elbow against Saldana at a couple points. He does just kind of like plot forward, and as the fight goes on, that spinning shit might be there for Ramos, but he has the ability to just be in and out. His movement is so good. When he keeps it fundamental, I think that's when he does his best work against like Bill Algeo. Algeo is another guy who can move pretty well. That was a very solid win for Ramos, I would say. He was just a step ahead of him, a little bit everywhere on the feet and on the ground. But Aljo was definitely giving him things to think about, and Ramos kind of abandoned the spinning stuff and just kept it more fundamental. And he lands these 1-2s with ease. These leg kicks have a lot of sting on them. Those could be a big factor in this one because Lingo is heavy on his lead leg when he's marching forward. So Ramos has all the tools. I just think that he has to avoid getting backed up in this one, which he definitely can. Definitely should have the movement to do that, and he also has good. He's gonna have a huge grappling advantage in this one, I would say. He has good body lock takedowns that he likes to go to and immediately hop on the back. He times those very well, so I think that would be a good game plan for him here. If he does that, he could wear on Lingo's gas tank, which is a tiny bit suspect. Again, it's not like he has bad cardio, but he does tend to slow down in these fights. So if Ramos wants to grapple, he could really try to neutralize Lingo's best weapons. And we look at the odds here. Ramos, I believe, is the biggest favorite on the card, and the line is just growing. I think he was like minus 310 when I looked at this the other day, and now he's at minus 360. So I am going to go with Ramos. It's just the question is it bettable? And I think it is, honestly, because, again, we've seen that Lingo had a lot of problems with Yusuf Zalal. Saldana, the fight was close, and he was very compromised. And on top of that, we haven't seen Lingo for a year and a half. I know he pulled out with one of these fights due to injury. So I am going to look into that, see what injury Lingo was dealing with, how bad it was. I'll try to watch an interview or something like that. I meant to do that before, but the thing for me is like I've seen that he struggles with a fighter that has these types of weapons, really good movement and grappling ability. Those two things should be able to get Ramos through here, and I think I am going to bite the bullet and bet this before it gets too crazy, because I don't think I'm going to bet Ramos at like minus 400, but minus 360, this card does lack I hate, there's never a sure thing in MMA, but, more comfortable picks, I would say. I do like Ramos, even though it is chalky. I think it's chalky for a reason, so I am going to look to make a bet with this today. So thanks for watching, guys. Sure, subscribe, and take it easy.